Joining me now, Texas Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's also a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. You know, Congresswoman, when I heard about this, you were the first person I wanted to hear his opinion on this, because coming from Texas, are you concerned about that Republican effort to redraw those congressional lines? And if you are, which I'm assuming you are, what can you do about it?
Yeah, so first of all, we've got to educate people. So thank you for having the conversation. This is bigger than just Texas. You know, a lot of people kind of look at this and be like, well, this is a Texas problem. No, it's an all of us problem. It's the entire country as well as the world that needs to be concerned. Because first of all, when we think about the fact that this administration has talked a lot about a third term, whoever controls the House is going to be the person who has to certify the election. So you know, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything. And right now, they are trying to not only rig the midterms, but potentially rig the next election by making sure that we have more of these complacent, complicit folk continuing to run the House, because honestly, they just do whatever he tells them to do. They don't do what the Constitution calls for, and they don't do what their oath calls for.
I'm old enough to remember, and young enough to remember, when gerrymandering was a horrible word. Yeah. The idea of redrawing maps, both sides hated that particular issue, Democrats, Republicans, although I do hear Governor Gavin Newsom saying that he is suggesting perhaps something similar. Should he?
Absolutely.
So because it'll truly be tit for tat. Would that be respected?
You've got to meet the moment. You've got to meet the moment. And the reality is that we need to be in a fair position. Honestly, Donald Trump would not be causing the havoc that he's causing if it wasn't for North Carolina deciding that they were going to cheat as well. They ended up controlling the Supreme Court in North Carolina, and so they decided to redraw the lines. When they redrew the lines, they added 3 seats for Republicans. It is not reflective of the people in North Carolina. Right now, you have 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats when it comes to the congressional makeup. But when you look at how the state voted, they barely voted a little bit over 50% for Donald Trump. But every other statewide election, governor on down, they voted for the Democrats. So it's a 50-50 state. And the congressional delegation used to be 7-7, reflective of the people. And so what we have now, though, is the state of Texas, ever since the Shelby v. Holder case, they have decided, you know what, thank you, hallelujah, because they have always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. When we ended up adding 2 new seats in the state of Texas, somehow that was because there were 95% people of color that were added to the state. But when it came down to it, somehow they worked around every single person of color that they could find to create 2 new Anglo seats. Right now, what they are going to do is they are going to further dilute the voices of Black and brown people so that they can accomplish this sinister goal of making sure that they can squeeze out and cheat and get these seats.
To remind people, of course, North Carolina is one of those states where a judge said it was surgical precision they were using to try to gerrymander in this way. And of course, Shelby v. Holder rolling back the Voting Rights Act under Section 5, which continues to impact everyone even today. A big story right now that's happening, even aside from gerrymandering and redistricting, has been about what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and the campaign promises that then candidate Trump was making about transparency. You were on the House Judiciary Committee. Democrats on that committee are calling for Trump administration officials to testify about how they've been handling this entire investigation. What would you ask them?
Oh, I mean, there's a long list. But I can tell you that I serve as the ranking member of Oversight as the subcommittee on Judiciary. We just had a hearing today, and they decided to go after our nonprofit organizations. But what we did is we focused on what the American people want to hear about and what we should be doing, which is actual judicial oversight. And so we should be calling in Pam Bondi. We should put her under oath to testify in front of Judiciary on the House side.
About Epstein?
About Epstein, absolutely.
What do you want to know?
Well, first of all, she said, oh, you know, I've got the files on my desk. Then the next thing you know, she said, well, wait a minute, there are no files. Which one is it? When were you lying? And why are you lying? What is the cover-up? We know that your boss indicated that he was going to release the files. What is the holdup on releasing the files? And how are you going to go about determining what is relevant, right? What is, I forgot the exact term that he used, but that's basically what he said, right? Like, what is going to be your process? But ultimately, I want to know not just about specifically the Epstein files, but how she is running this DOJ. Because I don't have any confidence in the way that she is running this DOJ.
Because you're intimating that somebody else is running it, or that she is a puppet, or what?
I believe that she's okay with violating the law. I
In what
believe
way?
that she's in all ways. When we talk about the firings, I have questions about the firings that she has done to so many of those people that work for the DOJ. Are you firing people in retaliation for them actually doing things that they should be doing?
So, Congresswoman, I have to ask you, I'm sure you perhaps have heard by now that President Trump had a lot to say about your colleague, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also yourself as well. Listen to what he said.
AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now it's time for them to take a test.
What is your reaction to what he is saying?
It is absolutely ridiculous that I live rent-free in his mind in a time in which the American people are suffering. It's already been reported on as it relates to the inflation. We know that the job numbers were bad. We know that this big, ugly bill is going to directly harm so many people, not just the 17 million that are going to lose their health care, but everyone else whose health care premiums are going to go up because $1 trillion is being taken out of the health care infrastructure. There's a lot of things he could be working on, but for some reason, he is constantly focused on me. And personally, I've never met the man. I have no interest in going to the White House and meeting him or talking to him.
That might surprise people that you've never met.
I have never met him, but for whatever reason, I live rent-free. And honestly, the biggest concern that I have is that every time he does something, he has minions that see it as a dog whistle. And then it only increases the attacks on myself as well as any other colleague. But he absolutely consistently buys into this idea or continues to put it out there that women of color somehow are low IQ. Let me be clear. I have a lot more education than he does. This is just what it is, degree-wise. I have earned my degrees. My daddy didn't have to make a phone call to get me into anything because that wasn't a possibility, okay? So we can stop playing games as if I am somehow lesser than, while he has somehow hoodwinked enough people to become president of the United States, mostly because they thought he was a good businessman, but that is just because he's a Nepo baby. I promise you, if I was a Nepo baby and maybe a man, that I probably could too be president rather quickly, even though I am unqualified. But he needs to focus on doing what he swore an oath to do, which was to take care of the people in this country. And right now, I have not seen any policy that is going to help the people writ large in this country.
Congresswoman Crockett, thank you.